this is one of my favorite stories from Scripture. It's such a good one. About family, right? Our favorite topic. How many here have siblings? Fair number. For those of you who are older siblings, do you sometimes feel like the younger sibling would always get away with stuff that you never got away with? There was somehow extra grace for those younger siblings that somehow wasn't forthcoming for you? You ever feel that way? I heard a few yeses. And for the younger siblings, do you sometimes feel like that the older sibling would get to do these neat things that you just didn't have permission yet to do because you weren't old enough? Can you tell I was a younger sibling? There's bitterness, right? Sometimes in having siblings, rivalry. It happens. I think that's part of why this story resonates so strongly with people. It's because it's so near to our heart and our experience in life. And it's a good story, good characters. I mean, they're kind of crazy characters if you think about it. Here's this wackadoo father, right? And his younger son comes to him and asks a question. He's basically saying to the father, you know what? I know you're not dead yet, but I kind of wish you were, because I'd like to have my money now. Do you think you could give it to me? And the father, his wackadoo father, what does he say? What do you say, Ken? Sure, sounds good. No way, says Sue. He says, yeah, all right, here's the money. Half of his property, right? Whatever that was worth, gone. Given to the son. Then the son, to add insult to injury, right? He takes the money, goes to another country. What's he do with it? Squanders it, wastes it, irresponsibly. Doesn't even spend it on, something worthwhile. Well, April said, that's what the elder son had to say, April. The elder son had an accusation to make later in the story. But in the actual text, it just says, irresponsibly he spent the money. So we're not told exactly how that was, but it was irresponsibly. So now he's out of money, right? He's out of money, and then he's out of luck. Because what happens? A famine. Nothing to eat. Nobody has anything to spare. And he's just spent everything. So he hires himself out, right? Hoping to get a little work. And yet he's still starving. So starving that when he's feeding the pigs, which, remember the Jewish people and the pigs, how do they get along? Not well. This is a real dishonor, right? He's feeding the pigs. And he's looking at their food and he's going, gosh, that looks good. I wouldn't mind eating some of that pig slop. And then he comes to himself, right? So basically he's hit bottom. And he says, this is ridiculous. I'm starving to death. And who does he think of to help him out? Daddy! Right? My dad. I'll go home to him. He'll help me out. So he has this whole speech prepared, right? He's going to grovel. I sinned. Just let me be one of the slaves, the servants. At least then I'll have something to eat and a place to live. He's got it all prepared in his head, right? Can imagine the journey. Heavy heart, not sure how his father's going to react. I mean, he basically told his father, I wish you were dead. So he's walking down the road, and then his wackadoo father, he's not even home yet. He's still on the road, and the father sees him. And his heart is filled with compassion. Right? He runs to son. He embraces him. And the son starts to give his prepared speech, right? I've sinned! But the father cuts him off. Doesn't even let him finish. He says to his slave, get the robe, the sandals, the ring. Kill the fatted calf. It's time to party. My son is home. So they start the party. And then there's that elder son. He hears the music. He's out working, that elder son. What the heck? What's going on? What's going on? They're having a party. Your brother's home. Killed the fatted calf. That's a big deal. That would mean the whole community was invited. How's the elder brother feel? He's feeling small. April, that's a very good insight there. He's feeling small, so how does he react? Like a wedding thing. Yeah, it's a big celebration. Yep. He's jealous, right? Angry. Absolutely. Can you blame him? No. Anybody feel like the elder son sometimes? So he's angry. And he refuses to go in. He's kind of like the little kid who's having a temper tantrum outside, right? I'm going to go party. Yeah. And then the father comes out. He's like, what's wrong? Come on, come have a party. Your brother's home. And he's like, listen here, you old coot. I worked all these years for you. And what thanks did I get? This story is funny, Isabel. The Bible has funny stories in it. And he's not treating his father very nicely at this point either, is he? He's pretty ungrateful too at this position. And what does the father do to this, temper tantrum older son? He has nothing but love for this son too. What a good father. Doesn't he know about discipline? He says, son, everything that I have has always been yours. We have to celebrate though. Because this brother, he was dead. Now he's alive. He was lost. Now he's found. It's a good story about God's love. And we can relate to each of these characters at some point in our life. I'm sure you can think of a time when you wasted something that was given to you in love. Or a time when you were jealous of special treatment that somebody else was getting. Or a time when you were just longing to welcome home somebody who was making you freak. Right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about our neighborhood. And it's just wonderful how well the story of our neighborhood fits in with this story from Scripture. So I made a little drawing for you all, very hastily this morning. Pastor Pat never does anything last minute. And this is the little drawing. Tasha, can you see what this drawing is of? What do you think that is? Yep. So this is our neighborhood. So for those of you who are over here, at the top is Allentown and Bethlehem. On the east side, I'm dyslexic, so bear with me. On the east side here is the river between us and New Jersey. On the south side is like Sowerton area. On the west side it's like Pennsburg, Red Hill. Okay? And then in the middle we have 309, 476, 313, 6063. This is our neighborhood. Upper Bucks, a little bit into the next county north. I gathered some statistics about that neighborhood. They tell an interesting story, those statistics. They were shared with me by our neighbor across the street. It's gotten through a program called Mission Insight to provide a whole bunch of demographics. Often congregations use these demographics when they're in transition. So the story these demographics show is that our area, this area in general, is getting older. This is true of the United States right now because of baby boomers. Yes, baby boomers. There's a lot of you. And guess what? You're getting older. So our area is getting older, but our area is getting older at a little faster rate, which might mean that parents, as their kids are growing up, they're moving out, and the parents are staying and the kids are leaving. So if you're wondering why there's not 100 kids in Sunday school anymore, one of the reasons, part of the reason is our population is getting a little older in this area. So that's age. Then there's some statistics about families. Families with children, it's more likely that the parents will be married, but it's also more likely in the future that that will not be the case, that less people will marry in the future. There will be more single parents. And then there's some statistics about the economy. And apparently, our area is doing all right. Lots of white-collar jobs. Top 3 jobs in our area are an managerial executive, that sounds fancy, administrative assistant, and production transportation. I'm guessing that's like driving a truck. Economy's not my strength. But basically, our area is doing pretty good economically. So those are kind of basics, right? And then there's some interesting stuff. It's called mosaic information. Have you ever heard of mosaic demographics? It's for marketers. They group households into different categories depending on characteristics of each household. So it has to do with the age of the people in the household, whether they're married and they have kids, or they're single or they don't. Also has to do with their interests and their values. So in our area, according to the mosaic information, remember this is households, the top 12 categories, they all have these weird names like blue sky boomers and aging of Aquarius. Yeah, marketers, I don't know, they like fancy names. But they essentially have to do with people's age and interests. And the top 12, which represents 60% of the household, so that's the majority. Of those top 12, most are folks 51 and older. Most don't have kids. And that's not just the older people. Some of that's younger folks, millennials that haven't had kids or plan not to have kids. And what was the third category? There's one more. Generationally, most are baby boomers. But then if you look at the population, and that's individuals, right? So the mosaic is households, units, families. Population is individuals. Population, the highest is millennials. It's me. A couple of you in here also. The next highest is the Generation X, right? Janet, bet your Generation X. And then below that's the baby boomers. And then the highest growing is the homelanders. It's you guys. Did you know you were a homelander? I just learned that. It's you too, Rachel. Where's she at? Way back there. Brian? Brian's actually, how old are you, Brian? You're actually on the cusp, so he's actually a millennial, technically speaking. So what does this mean? Interesting, right? That most of the households are baby boomers, but most of the individuals are millennials? Okay? So then, there's all kinds of information that we have about beliefs, religious stuff. This is what we're interested in, right? So in our area, the strongest belief, and actually overall people are pretty wishy-washy about their beliefs, but this one is the strongest belief by a large margin. The strongest belief people have about God, it's a good one, is that God is love and invites the world into a loving relationship. That's not bad. You can hold on to that. And boy, kind of sounds like that story we just heard, doesn't it? And so then there's values, morals, right? And the strongest value, and again, this is far and away strongest value is that tolerance is necessary for well-being and world peace. That's the strongest value. Like other values that are under there are there needs to be better restriction for guns, or abortion should be legal, or what's the other values? America should be a force for good in the world. Those are some of the values that are in there. But the top one is about tolerance. Interesting, given our world milieu right now, right? And then there's life concerns. That's what people are worried about. What do you think people are worried about? Just a guess. What do you think, Nancy? Yeah. That's one of them. Money. Money's at the top. It's the top two. People are worried about money for the future. And then the second one is people are worried about just having enough to get around. Money for day-to-day finances. What was that younger son's problem? Remind me? You didn't have any money. Interesting. Interesting. So then it gets even more intriguing. So now we're going to talk about churches. So these are kind of general beliefs, right? And then this is how people feel about church. Are you ready? Look at April's face. She looks resigned. So how people feel about church. There's two really interesting categories. The first one is people who don't come to church and why they don't bother. Why they don't want to come to church. And you know what it is, the top reason? I don't know, I'm not even sure I want to know what you said, so. The top reason is church people are too judgmental. What was that other son's problem again? So then, it builds, right? So for people who are in the church and are thinking about leaving, thinking about checking out, the top reason that they're thinking about it is, can you guess?
Same reason.
Church people are too judgmental. Yes! Such a theme, right? And then the final piece of information, which just puts the cherry on top. It's about church programs and what people are looking for when they go to a church. So this includes stuff like contemporary worship, modern, or traditional worship, different programs like for youth or seniors, different opportunities to volunteer, all that stuff's under there. And the top thing that people are looking for is warm, friendly encounters. Just be nice. Don't be judgmental. That's all they want. You think we can do that? We do, said Charlene. We do. We are nice people.
Yes, we are.
But
And they run out.
do you remember the context for this story that we heard in Scripture? There was a reason Jesus started telling this story. Do you remember what happened at the very beginning, before he started telling the parable? There were the scribes and the Pharisees, right? Those guys. And they were saying to each other, this Jesus fellow, always hanging out with sinners, and he eats with them. Ugh! Who is he? And then Jesus tells the story, right? About these two sons and this father. Folks, those religious folk who were saying those things, that's us. We're the Pharisees and the scribes, the people who come to church every Sunday, who are here supporting the ministries, supporting the community. It's so easy to slip into that elder son role. When we start talking about those millennials, it's real easy. It's real easy. Start talking about those wastrels living off their parents' income, at home, don't have a job. Does this sound familiar? What else can we say about millennials? Help me out, Alicia. What else? They don't go to church. right? And why do we say that? Why? Because we care, right? We care, and we want them to care about the things that we care about. Church, that's pretty important, we think. And yet, somehow, a lot of them seem not to care. Well, that's with our judgmental glasses on, right? But if you remember the story, yes, he said to his father, I wish you were dead. He did. Yes, he wasted all that money. It happened. But the famine, I mean, was that his fault? No, it wasn't his fault. And like I said, how many of us haven't been in a bad situation? And we were just lucky that there wasn't a famine. Or that if there was, somebody was there to help us. So, the message is clear, folks. There is a famine out there. A famine of understanding and openness, of tolerance, friendliness. And every week we come here. We hear about a loving God. That world needs that loving God. They want it so desperately. And we have to police the elder son inside of ourselves. Because it's in every one of us, that elder son. And remember that when we're grousing in the hallway, those millennials, you just might be a millennial in the hallway too. Especially if your pastor's there. The world needs that wackadoo father. The one who doesn't even wait for the excuse. Just love. No worry about past mistakes. No worries about the long absence. Just love. And then, of course, some guidance maybe later on. But up front, the love, folks. The love. So let us strive. We won't be perfect, right? Because we're human beings. Every once in a while, we're going to be that younger son. Maybe we hit bottom a couple times. You know, it doesn't say in the story that this was the last of his charades, this younger son. It might have been that after that party, he plays the fool again. We don't know. But it doesn't pollute that moment of compassion. And that's what we need to strive to. That's what God is calling us to be. It's that wackadoo father. Offering love and compassion. Because that is clearly what our neighborhood really wants. Really needs. It's what we all need. So let's be that wackadoo father. Full of love. Think we can do it? I think we can.